They say that history is written by the victors, but the truth is kept by the silent men who stand in the corners of the room, invisible and forgotten until the moment they are needed. My name is Henry. I am a 78-year-old relic with a bad hip and a penchant for silence. I sit in the corner of my daughter's living room, trying not to spill coffee on her white carpet, listening to them talk about their stressful lives, managing social media accounts and planning vacations to Tulum. They think I was a filing clerk for the Department of Agriculture. They think my government pension comes from 40 years of pushing paper and organizing grain subsidies. They have no idea that the scar running along my ribs, the one they saw once at the beach and grimaced at, came from a bullet meant for a head of state in a hotel lobby in Vienna. They have no idea that the silence I keep is not senility, but the discipline of a man who knows secrets that could topple nations. I am not a clerk. I was a shadow. I was the man you never saw, the man who made sure the world kept spinning while everyone else slept. The story begins on a Saturday in July. The heat is oppressive, a humid blanket that makes the air shimmer above the asphalt. It is my grandson Tyler's 21st birthday. Tyler is a boy constructed entirely of brands. He wears logos across his chest like medals of honor. He speaks to me with a tone of condescending amusement, as if I am a toddler who has learned a new trick. He is an influencer, a profession I struggle to understand, involving a camera constantly shoved in faces and a desperate clawing need for validation from strangers on the internet. But he is my blood. He is the only grandson I have. And despite his flaws, despite the way he rolls his eyes when I speak, I love him. I want him to understand where he comes from. I want him to know that there is value in things that endure, things that aren't digital or disposable. I have decided to give him a legacy gift. It is my watch. To the untrained eye, it is garbage. It is a vintage, battered field watch with a scratched crystal and a worn leather strap that smells faintly of sweat and gun oil. The dial is faded. The hands are simple. It looks like something you would find in a bargain bin at a flea market, priced at $5. But it isn't. It is a prototype, one of only 3 ever made by a specialized division of the military.
It is shockproof, waterproof, and shielded against electromagnetic pulses. It was gifted to me by the President of the United States in a private bunker in 1983 after a classified operation in Beirut that never made the papers. On the back, worn smooth against my skin for 40 years, is an inscription, "For Henry, the Quiet Shield." It is the most valuable thing I own. Not in money, though collectors would pay a fortune for it, but in honor. It is my history, and I am giving it to Tyler. The party is in full swing in the backyard. Music is thumping, a repetitive bass line that rattles my teeth. Tyler is holding court by the pool, surrounded by friends who look exactly like him. Perfect teeth, empty eyes. He is holding a bottle of champagne, spraying it into the air like a Formula One driver. I approach him. My hands are trembling slightly. Not from age, but from the emotion of passing the torch. I am giving him my story. "Tyler," I say. My voice is raspy, unused to competing with the noise. He turns. He looks annoyed to be interrupted. "What?" he asks, shouting over the music. "Dad!" His friends snicker. I ignore them. "I have something for you," I say. "For your birthday. It's..." I reach into my pocket and pull out the small velvet box. It is worn, the fabric balled in places. Tyler takes it. He looks at the box with skepticism. "Okay," he says. He opens it. He looks at the watch. The silence is instant. The smile drops from his face. He stares at the scratched crystal, the frayed strap. He looks at me, confused. "What?" he asks. "It's my watch," I say, pride swelling in my chest. "It's very special, Tyler. It's been with me through everything." Tyler lifts the watch out of the box. He holds it up by the strap, dangling it like a dead rat. He looks at it with pure disgust. "What?"
he asks. The music seems to stop. Everyone is looking. It's scratched. Tyler laughs. It is a cruel barking sound. It's garbage. Did you find this in the attic? It's not garbage, I start to say, but he cuts me off. He pulls out his phone. He points the camera at the watch, then at me. Guys, look at this, he says to his live stream, his voice pitching up into that fake performer tone. Look at what my grandpa gave me for the big 21. A literal piece of trash from the 80s. I think he dug it out of a dumpster. Thanks, Grams. I'll be sure to wear this. He laughs again. Then, he tosses the watch. He doesn't hand it back.
He throws it onto the patio table, among the empty beer bottles and half-eaten cake. It lands with a heavy, sickening thud. The crystal cracks. My heart cracks with it. I stood there, humiliated in front of 50 people, watching my legacy be treated like litter by the boy I used to carry on my shoulders. I realized then that I hadn't raised a man. I had subsidized a monster. If you have ever offered your heart to someone only to have them stomp on it for a laugh, hit that subscribe button. Because I didn't take the watch back. I didn't scream. I let him keep it. I wanted to see exactly how far you would go. I turned and walked away. I walked into the house, into the quiet of my room. I sat on the edge of my bed, listening to the laughter outside. I didn't cry. Agents don't cry. We assess. We plan. We execute. 3 days pass. The humiliation festers, but I push it down. I need to retrieve the watch. It isn't safe with him. I need to save it from his negligence. I go to his room on Tuesday. It is a mess of clothes and electronics. I check the table. I check the dresser. It isn't there. I go downstairs. My daughter Susan is in the kitchen, scrolling on her iPad. Susan, I ask, have you seen the watch I gave Tyler? She sighs, not looking up. Dad, he probably threw it out. It was broken anyway, wasn't it? Why do you have to embarrass him with your junk? Give him cash next time. Threw it out. The words hang in the air. But he didn't throw it out. I know he didn't. I go back to my room. I pull out my phone. It looks like a standard smartphone, but the operating system is custom. I open an app that doesn't exist on the App Store. Years ago, when the watch started to become valuable, I had a friend in the agency modify it. He slipped a micro tag into the lining of the case, behind the movement. It is a passive tracker, undetectable unless you take the watch apart with a microscope. I tap the screen. Locate asset. A map appears. A red dot blinks. It isn't in the trash. It isn't in the house. The dot is moving. It is downtown. It is moving fast, likely in a car. I watch it. It stops. I zoom in on the location. 404 East 4th Street. I know that address. Goldman's Pawn and Luxury Resale. The air leaves my lungs. He didn't just mock the gift. He stole it. He stole a piece of history. A gift from the President of the United States to pawn for quick cash. Why? I access his bank records. It is illegal, of course, but for a man with my clearance history, bank security is a suggestion, not a rule. I see the transactions. Online crypto casino, BetMGM, DraftKings, thousands of dollars in losses. He is in debt. He is desperate. I grab my keys. I drive to the pawn shop. I park across the street in my old sedan. I watch. 10 minutes later, Tyler's BMW pulls up. He gets out. He is holding a small bag. He looks nervous. He looks over his shoulder. He walks into the pawn shop. I wait. 15 minutes later, he walks out. He isn't holding the bag. He is holding a wad of cash. He counts it on the sidewalk. He looks happy. He looks relieved. He gets back in his car and drives away. He has sold my honor for poker chips. I sit there, gripping the steering wheel. I could go in there. I could buy it back. My grandson has just committed a federal offense. Trafficking in stolen government property. Selling classified assets. I pick up my phone. I dial a number I haven't called in 20 years. It is a number that doesn't show up on caller ID. It rings once. This line is secure. A voice answers. It is crisp, authoritative, aged like oak. "General," I say. There is a pause. "Henry?" "It's me, sir," I say. "The asset has been compromised." "The Reagan prototype," I say, "and the target." "Understood," the general says. "We'll be there in 24 hours. I hang up. I watch the pawnshop door. The game has changed. Tyler wanted to be an influencer. He's about to influence the United States government. Patience is a weapon best wielded by a man who knows the outcome before the game even begins. I did not rush to the pawnshop. A civilian, driven by emotion, would have stormed the gates, demanding justice, making a scene that could be erased with a simple apology or a refund. I am not a civilian. I am a ghost who learned decades ago that the most effective strike is the one your enemy never sees coming. I waited. I know how pawnshops work. I know how Saul works. He is a good man, but he is a businessman. He is required by law to hold high-value items for 30 days before placing them on the floor for sale. But for items that smell of history, items that feel heavy with secrets, he has a different protocol. He calls collectors. He calls museums. He investigates. I knew he would open the case back. Any reputable dealer would.
He would want to check the movement, verify the serial number, ensure it wasn't a fake. And when he did, he would see the inscription. He would see the presidential seal engraved on the inner mechanism, a detail known only to a handful of men who are either dead or retired. While I waited for Saul to make the discovery, I spent the week gathering the ammunition I needed to bury my grandson. I sat in my room, the door locked, and opened my laptop. It looks like a standard consumer model, but the software is anything but. I accessed Tyler's bank records. It wasn't difficult. He uses his birth date as his password for everything, a security flaw I had warned him about 3 times. I saw the deposit, $500. He had sold a priceless artifact of American history, a watch that had ticked through the Cold War for the price of a pair of sneakers. It was an insult so profound it made my hands shake. I tracked the money. Within an hour, it was gone. Transfer to Coinbase. Transfer to Lucky Spin Crypto Casino. He had gambled it away. He had traded my honor for digital poker chips and lost it all before the sun went down. On Friday afternoon, the call came. I was sitting in the garden, watching the bees work the lavender, when my phone buzzed. It was a local number. The voice was hesitant, shaking slightly. "Hello, Saul," I said. "Henry, your kid, the one with the hair, he brought something in on Saturday." "I know," I said calmly. I opened it up, Henry, just to clean it, to check the movement. I saw the inscription and the seal. Henry, is this real? The signature?" "It's real, Saul," I said. I heard Saul exhale, a long, shuddering breath. "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, I thought you were a clerk." "I did a lot of things, Saul," I said. "Now listen to me. Do not sell that watch. Do not put it on the floor. Keep it in the safe. I'm coming to get it." Saul asked nervously, "Henry, I don't want any trouble." "You won't have trouble, Saul." I hung up. I didn't call the police. The police handle theft. This wasn't just theft. This was a breach of national security protocols, even if the asset was declassified. It was a matter of honor. I called Admiral Vance. He picked up on the first ring. He is 82 years old, retired for 15 years, but he still sounds like he could command a fleet with a whisper. "The team is ready, Henry," he said. "Thank you, sir," I said. "It's not a favor, Henry," Vance replied. "It's a correction." We don't leave our own behind. Saturday morning arrived with a clear blue sky. I sent a text to Tyler. "Meet me at Goldman's Pawn on 4th Street, 9 a.m. I have more cash for you." He replied instantly, "Sweet." He thought I was a senile ATM. He thought I was going to give him more money to burn. He had no idea he was walking into a court-martial. I drove to the pawn shop. I parked my sedan across the street. I watched Tyler arrive in his BMW. He got out, wearing sunglasses, looking smug. He checked his hair in the reflection of the window.
He looked like a boy who had never faced a consequence in his life. He walked in. I waited 2 minutes. Then I opened my car door. Admiral Vance's black SUV pulled up behind me. The Admiral stepped out. He was wearing his dress blues, a uniform he hadn't worn in public since his retirement ceremony. He leaned on a cane, but his back was straight as a ramrod. Flanking him were 2 men in dark suits. They were younger, hard-looking men, former agency, men who knew the history of the watch. The Admiral asked. We walked across the street. We entered the pawn shop. The bell on the door chimed. Saul was behind the counter, looking pale. Tyler was leaning against the glass display case, tapping his foot. Tyler asked, not even looking up from his phone. "The money is on the counter," I said. Tyler looked up. He saw me. He saw Saul. And then he saw the Admiral. He froze. His mouth opened slightly. He looked at the uniform, the ribbons, the stars on the shoulder boards. He looked at the 2 men in suits who were standing by the door, blocking the exit with their arms crossed. "What?" Tyler stammered. His arrogance flickered and died. I pointed to the counter. Saul had laid out 5 $100 bills. "That's the money," I said. $500. Tyler flushed. "It was just a watch. It was junk. It was scratched up. I needed the cash, okay?" "Liar," I said. "It wasn't just a watch," the Admiral said. His voice filled the small room like thunder rolling in a valley. It was a voice of absolute command. "It is classified government property. Decommissioned, yes, but still property of the United States intelligence community." Tyler laughed. It was a nervous, high-pitched sound. He looked at me. He scoffed. "Him? Pop-Pop? He's a clerk." The Admiral stepped forward. He leaned on his cane, looking down at my grandson with eyes that had seen wars Tyler had only played in video games.
"Your grandfather," the Admiral said, "was a ghost. He went places that didn't exist on maps. He did things that never happened. And that watch." I walked to the counter. Saul handed me the watch. I turned it over. "Read it," I said to Tyler. He leaned in, squinting. "For Henry, the quiet shield." He looked up. "RR?" "The President," I said. "He gave this to me in a bunker while the world was holding its breath." Tyler backed away. He bumped into a display of guitars. I didn't know," he whispered. "You didn't care," I corrected him. "You committed grand larceny, Tyler. You stole from me. But more than that, you trafficked in stolen government property. That's a federal offense." The 2 men in suits stepped forward. They reached into their jackets. They didn't pull guns. They pulled badges. Silver badges. Federal. "We can arrest him right now," one agent said, looking at me. "Title 18 United States Code. Theft of government property. Trafficking. We're looking at 10 years in federal prison." The color drained from Tyler's face. He looked at the badges. He looked at the door. He looked at me. The influencer facade crumbled. The arrogance dissolved. He wasn't a cool kid anymore. He was a terrified child who had broken something he couldn't fix. He fell to his knees. "Grandpa," he sobbed, snot running down his face. "Grandpa, please. I didn't know. Don't let them take me, please." He looked at the agents. "I'm just a kid." "You're 25, the Admiral said coldly. "You're a man." Tyler turned to me, grabbing the hem of my jacket. "Call Mom." "Your mother can't help you," I said, looking down at him. "She thinks I'm a clerk, too. She thinks I'm a senile old man who pushes paper. She has no idea who I am." I looked at the watch in my hand. I strapped it back onto my wrist. The leather felt warm. It felt heavy. It felt right. "I won't press charges," I said. Tyler sagged with relief, sobbing into the floor. "Thank you." "On one condition," I added. He looked up, hope and terror warring in his eyes. I leaned down until my face was inches from his. "You are cut off," I said, "completely. No more money, no more car payments, no more tuition, no more loans for your business ideas. You get a job,
A real job. You pay Saul back the $500 with interest. Tyler nodded frantically. Yes, yes, I promise. I am not your ATM, I whispered. I am your grandfather. I stood up. I turned to the agents. Clear the room.
The agent stepped back. The Admiral nodded to me. Let's go, Henry, he said. I walked out of the pawn shop. I walked out into the sunlight. I left my grandson sobbing on the dirty floor of a resale shop, surrounded by the wreckage of his own entitlement. I got into the Admiral's SUV. The leather seats were comfortable. You went easy on him, Henry, the Admiral said as we pulled away. He's family, I said, looking out the window at the city I had spent a lifetime protecting. He's blood. I looked down at my wrist. The second hand swept smoothly around the dial.